dad's side of the family this summer and prove to herself that she was still close to them, still a Callahan. That was the main reason for the little project she had in mind for this summer. She could hardly wait to get the others alone so she could tell them. "Oops," said Hillary as she bumped into someone. Looking up, she realized it was the tall, preppy teenage guy she'd spied during the 2-hour crossing. "Excuse me," she said, as a hot pink blush spread across her face. She always felt nervous talking to new people, especially boys. "That's okay," said the young man, looking down at her with a grin. His chin-length blonde hair kept blowing into his eyes, and he pushed it away impatiently. "I can't make out the people who are meeting me either." "Who are they?" asked Hillary, regaining some composure. "Maybe I know them." She forced herself not to be completely tongue-tied. "The Bickets," said the young man, glancing back at the dock. "I'm coming here for the summer to teach sailing at Hagen's Marina, and I'm living in the Bickets' garage apartment. I don't have a clue what the Bickets look like since I've only talked to them on the phone, but they said they'd be waving a yellow yachting flag." Had he been looking at Hillary as he said this, he would have seen the surprise on her face. The Bickets. It was just too much of a coincidence. But she recovered quickly before he noticed. "Oh, I don't actually know the Bickets, but I've heard of them, of course," said Hillary breezily, but inside her heart was pounding nervously. "Everyone has. They own the big grocery store here on the island." She quickly changed the subject. "I also know the Hagens. That's their marina, just to the left there. Some of my cousins have taken sailing classes at Hagen's Marina in the past, and I think my grandmother said my other cousins and I will be doing it this summer, too. I've sailed before, just never here." She spoke quickly, hoping he wouldn't ask her any more about the Bickets. It worked. "Sounds like you have a lot of cousins." Hillary nodded. "And hey, maybe I'll be your instructor at Hagen's. That would be cool." The young man said, "I'm Tucker Hill. What's your name?" He extended his right hand for a shake. Hillary Callahan," said Hillary. Shaking hands. How grown up, she thought, as she took Tucker's warm and calloused hand in hers. He was probably 17, but his earnestness and poise made him seem older. Hillary felt completely immature next to him. She felt a blush starting again, and quickly looked back at the nearing dock to try to think of something else to say. "Hey, there's a yellow flag!" Hillary pointed to a small cluster of people on the dock. One of them, a bored-looking dark-haired girl about Hillary's age, was lazily waving the flag in figure eights. Hillary was startled, though she didn't show it. She hadn't realized there was a Bicket girl who was her age. She studied the family carefully, sizing up the potential competition for her project. Other than the beautiful, pouty daughter, there were 2 parents who looked kind of normal, and a little boy who must have been the girl's brother. Tucker raised a hand in greeting, but the Bickets didn't seem to see him, or at least none of them waved back. Just then, the ferry's engine shifted into a roaring idle as the captain began maneuvering the boat into its berth. A noxious cloud of diesel fuel filled the air, and Tucker said something Hillary couldn't hear. "Pardon me?" she shouted. "I said, I hope they're nice," Tucker shouted back. "Oh, yeah. They're supposed to be, pretty nice. I'm sure it will be fine." But Hillary wasn't telling the truth. She gazed out over the water for a moment. The Callahans and the Bickets had been on bad terms for years. Hillary didn't know all the details, but she knew that her dad and uncles had been friends with the Bicket brothers growing up. And then things turned sour. Over the years, she'd listened in as the grown-ups discussed the Bicket brothers and what jerks they'd become. And her dad had told her time and again about a kind of wild, silly game that the Bicket brothers and Callahan brothers used to play, where family honor was at stake, and winning a round meant winning one for the family and proving yourself a real Gull Islander. Hilary's proposed summer project was to restart this game and win it once and for all. Over the course of the past few months, she had decided it was the only way to prove to herself and her dad that she was a true Callahan. And even more important, she figured it was a surefire way to prevent herself from being cut out of the family loop after the divorce. After all, no one would ever forget about the hero of their family, would they? Hilary snapped back to reality as the roaring of the ferry suddenly stopped. The captain had cut the engine, leaving only the noises of the gulls and the passengers' chatter and the squeals of the boat against the wooden dock pilings. Tucker smiled as he gathered up his huge duffel bag. "Hey, it was nice to meet you." He slung the heavy bag up over one broad shoulder in a graceful arc and smiled at Hilary. "Do you need any help with your stuff before I take off?" "No, thanks. That's really nice of you, but I'm fine." The poor guy, she thought. From what I've heard, he's the one who might need help. "Okay, I'll see you when sailing clinic starts. Later," Tucker called over his shoulder. "Bye," Hilary waved. "Good luck," she added, but it was too late. He didn't hear her. Tucker strolled off toward the front gate just as it opened, spilling the passengers onto the dock with its waiting throng of greeters. The cars on board the ferry began starting their motors, one after the other, as they waited to be waved off the boat by the deckhands. Hilary shook her head slowly from side to side. The Bickets, she thought. It's already starting. "Yoo-hoo, Hilary!" G's voice rose above the crowd. G. Hilary turned and spotted her grandmother at the far left of the dock. G hadn't changed at all since they had seen her in Vail at Christmas. In fact, thought Hilary, G hadn't changed at all since before Hilary was even born. Her short, snow-white hair stood up all over her head like peaks of frosting on a lemon meringue pie. Her tan was as dark as ever, and her bright blue eyes, the Callahan family trademark, twinkled in dazzling competition with her wide grin. G was beautiful, in an outdoorsy, healthy way, slim, but well-muscled from her daily 1-mile swim in the chilly waters of the Sound. She was president of the local chapter of the Polar Bears Club, leading the charge into the water every New Year's Day, and energetic in her movements. And, as always, she was beautifully dressed, right down to her usual pink lipstick. "Hi, G," called Hilary. "I'm coming around." Hilary hauled her mountaineering backpack into place on her shoulders, then looped between the cars on the ferry's deck and crossed through the boat's gate. She picked her way through the crowd and over to G, where she was instantly wrapped in an enormous hug that even encompassed the backpack. "Look at you," cried G, holding Hilary out at arm's length. "You're so grown up and lovely. Wait till the others see you. Of course, they're all grown up and lovely, too." Hilary laughed, thrilled to see G again, and relieved that G was the same as ever. G linked her arm through Hilary's to lead the way toward her ancient Volvo station wagon in the parking lot. They passed the Bickets, who were chatting with Tucker, and the dark-haired girl gave Hilary a cold, appraising look that sent a chill up her spine. Hilary stared back, sizing them up. Just then, Tucker looked up and called, "Bye, Hilary," and Hilary waved. The Bicket girl's lip curled in displeasure, and she turned her back to Hilary and looped her arm through Tucker's. Tucker seemed surprised, but game, as he gallantly led the girl toward the boardwalk to town. The girl's father gave G a curt nod, and Hilary looked quickly at G to see how she'd respond. G nodded back cordially, ladylike and polite as ever. Although G had never been directly involved in any of the rivalry between her boys and the Bicket boys, she'd certainly heard plenty about it. She always said that she didn't approve of anyone's behavior in the whole thing. But she